This is just a short demo of the Tally Scoreboard Ref version. I've already entered the players' names. This is what we call the pre-match setup. So this is a little checklist that a referee could go through in advance of the game. Probably more for the newer refs, but nevertheless, it's something that we could include in our software for sure. If they want to bypass this step, they can just close this and go right to the game, or go through the checklist, go to the match, and then here we have the match. All right. So we've got John L. and George H. playing against Paul M. and Ringo S. So the first thing that I'm going to show you here is when we're starting the game, we really haven't ascertained who's on which side of the court and so on and so forth. So one of the first things the referee is probably going to do is turn on the swap on button. He can swap teams from end to end. He can flip players from side to side. He can also select the server. So here we have George is the second server on the opening serve, serving to Paul, but what if we wanted to reverse that? So we would have Paul serving to George. So let's just say that that's how we want to start the game. This yellow bar at the top is called the prompt bar, and so it's 002. We would turn the swap off button to start the game. Now this next thing I'm going to show you here is really the pivotal part of how this whole program works here. The referee simply has to click on the RWT for each rally. Now, what the RWT is, that is the player that last touched the ball on the winning side of the rally. Okay, so I'll just repeat that. So the RWT is the player who last touched the ball on the winning side of the rally. So let's just do an example here. So let's just say Paul is serving to George and they have a rally back and forth a few times, and then John hits the ball and both Ringo and Paul miss the return or the ball, and so we would consider John to be the RWT. So we click on RWT, and then everything advances. All the game attributes advance. The rally advances. The score stays the same, obviously, but the serving power is now transferred from this side to this side over here. And so now we have George serving to Paul. And the other thing is the referee is automatically prompted as to what to say. So he would say side out 001. Okay, so it's very simple for the referee. So then George serves the ball to Paul, and they have a few rallies here. And let's just say that John is the RWT. So we would click on John. So now it's point 101, George serving to Ringo. And so we would just continue doing this throughout the game. So we're now up to point. The last rally it resulted in a point, 241, Ringo serving to John. Okay. Now, one thing I wanted to show you here is the timeout feature. So we have timeouts. And so here we have the timer, but we can actually close that. And the timer is running right here. So the referee can actually bring himself back to the main scoreboard page here. And if the players come back early and they want to resume serving quicker, he can just simply click on this. And that is their first out of 2 timeouts that they have. So then they would continue playing. Let's just say here we get going here. And now we have point. It's now 8-4. Now the 8 here signifies this is a game to 15. I should have mentioned that it's a match to 15. So at the score of 8, they swap ends. So we would just simply click on and then swap them, and then that automatically changes them. They're diagonally opposed to where they were before. And so that's all there is with changing ends during midway between in the games, and that occurs in the third game of a 2 out of 3 points to 11 win by 2. Now, okay, so we've ascertained that. So we just continue here. with the game. It's 8-6, and somebody's had a hissy fit here, and they've swore, and let's say Ringo swore here. So we would just click on the incident report, and we would give him a verbal warning. So we would just say verbal warning issued. Verbal warning issued. And we would set the incident report. But before I do that, let me just show you some of the other things. So we can do change ends, equipment timeout, game forfeit, match forfeit, medical timeout, technical foul. So if a technical foul is enacted, the one team loses a point. Whoever committed the technical foul. There's technical warnings, referees timeout, and verbal warning. We want to make a couple changes to this, but generally this is how it works. And so we're going to set the incident report. All right. So then now we're going to continue playing the game here. So after the timeout, Paul and Ringo get their act together and they score a few more points. And then these guys get the ball back and they score a few points. And but let's just say Ringo and Paul here carry the day. And they get the 15 win by 2. 36 rallies in the game. One other thing here is this: there's an undo button here. So let's just say that I selected Ringo as the last RWT, but it was actually Paul. So we can actually undo that, and then click Ringo or click Paul as the RWT, and then that will write the game analytics or the score, whatever. You can undo anything and you can go back as many steps as you want. So what we do now is, normally if it was just a game to 11, we would end the game. But because this is a game to 15, it's a match to 15, I should say, we're going to just end the match. And then Paul here will come to the phone or the mobile device of the referee, put his initials in there, and then the referee just simply saves that signature, and then that forwards all the information onto any software, tournament software packages out there through an API perhaps. Now, here are some of the things that the Tally Scoreboard platform generates. Firstly, player analytics. So, for instance, here John, he did not win any of the rallies when he was the server. He won 22% of the rallies when he was, their team won 22% of the rallies when he was the returner. And as last touch, he won 64% of the rallies their team won when he was the last one to touch the ball. Conversely, George was 75%, 27%, 36% respectively. And so these team analytics or player analytics for each individual player, despite their playing doubles play, the analytics are determined on an individual player basis. Then we have our post-game summary. So we can tell on which rallies the points were scored. We can determine on which rallies there was a timeout. We can determine on which rallies there was a verbal warning. As I say, I went to 35 rallies. The score was 15-9. We have a timeout report, and we also have an incidents report, verbal warning issued. Now, the one thing I should mention here about the incident reports is once they start becoming technical warnings and technical fouls, then we start assigning players' names to those infractions, and so we can start tracking player infractions for disciplinary reasons. And then this is something that Pickleball doesn't do currently. They have no idea who the bad actors are from one tournament to the next or from one league game to the next. So this is a way to maybe implement some discipline into Pickleball. I know it's not a problem today, but I think as the game grows, that it's something that needs to be dealt with. So anyway, that is basically the gist of it. One other thing I'll just explain here too is every ref has their own QR code. So a spectator could take a QR scan of this QR code and then be immediately taken to a spectator version of the scoreboard with banner advertising. So that's something I could show you at another time, perhaps.